5 years ago, a mysterious woman vanished from his bed after a single night, leaving him with nothing but a hazy memory, and 9 months later, a baby girl dropped on his doorstep. That child is Lily. Now 5 years old, Lily is the heir to an empire, but she is a target. The criminal underworld, specifically a syndicate known as the Vipers, has been contracted to kidnap her. The person pulling the strings? Ivy. Ivy is the definition of frenemy, a socialite with a smile like polished marble and a heart full of rot. She has been obsessed with Jay since childhood. She believes she is the rightful queen to his king, but Lily stands in the way. Ivy's plan is cold and calculated. Orchestrate Lily's kidnapping, swoop in as the comforter, and force Jay into marriage through emotional manipulation. But she didn't account for the anomaly in the woods. Enter Mia. To the naked eye, Mia is a nobody, a rural girl living off the grid in a cabin on the outskirts of the city, wearing oversized hoodies and planting herbs, but the amiibo tea is scalding here. Mia is actually the estranged daughter of Frank, a greedy textile mogul who disowned her 5 years ago. Why? Because she got pregnant out of wedlock. Now, let's get into the real deal. The metal blade sliced through the air with a whistle that would freeze your blood. It was aiming straight for the little girl's neck. Lily, the 5-year-old heiress to the Titan Group fortune, squeezed her eyes shut. She waited for the pain. She waited for the end. But it never came. Instead, there was a sickening crunch of bone meeting steel, but it wasn't Lily's bone. Her eyes snapped open. Standing in front of her was a woman in muddy boots and an oversized hoodie. She hadn't dodged, she hadn't run. She had caught the jagged hunting knife with her bare palm. Blood dripped onto the dry leaves, but the woman didn't even blink. She looked the thug dead in the eye, twisted her wrist, and the sound of his arm snapping echoed through the quiet woods like a gunshot. You have to understand, this wasn't just any woman. This was Mia. To the locals in the nearby village, she was the quiet girl who sold vegetables and looked at the ground when people spoke to her. But the way she moved right now, that was pure military precision. She kicked the second attacker in the throat before he could even raise his gun, sending him flying into a tree with a force that shook the branches. The third guy? He took one look at her eyes that looked like they had seen the deepest pits of hell and conquered them, and he dropped his weapon and ran. Mia didn't chase him. She turned around, ignoring her bleeding hand, and knelt. She didn't ask if Lily was okay, she just pulled the trembling child into her chest, shielding her from the world. And that is when the roar of a helicopter tore the sky apart. A sleek black chopper descended, kicking up a storm of dust and leaves. Jay jumped out before the skids even touched the ground. His suit alone cost more than the entire village, but right now he looked like a man on the edge of sanity. He ran toward the scene, his heart hammering against his ribs. He expected to find a body. He expected to find his daughter gone. What he found was a rural girl with dirt on her face holding his daughter, while 2 hitmen lay groaning in the dirt. Jay froze. He was a man who controlled global markets with a phone call, but he had never seen anything like this. He walked over, his eyes darting from the thugs to Mia's bleeding hand. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice cold, masking the panic. Mia didn't answer immediately. She was busy tearing a strip off her hoodie to wrap her hand. She looked up, and for a second, Jay felt a jolt of electricity he hadn't felt in 5 years. "I'm the person who just cleaned up your mess," she said, her voice raspy. "You need to watch your kid better, suit man." Jay bristled. No one spoke to him like that. He reached out to grab Lily, to pull her away from this stranger. But then the impossible happened. Lily, who hadn't spoken a single word since her mother disappeared, who was diagnosed with selective mutism, clung to Mia's muddy jeans. She looked up at Jay, tears streaming down her face, and screamed one word, "Mommy." The word hit Jay like a freight train. Mommy? Lily didn't have a mother. Her mother was a ghost, a one-night stand who vanished. Why was she calling this rural girl Mommy? Before Jay could process it, his security team swarmed the area. "Secure the perimeter," the head guard shouted. They pointed guns at Mia. "Get on the ground." But Mia didn't move. She just looked at Jay. "Tell your dogs to back off," she said calmly, "or I'll break their arms too." Jay raised a hand. "Stand down." He looked at Lily, who was refusing to let go of Mia. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like and subscribe for more amazing tales. He realized he had a problem. He couldn't tear his daughter away without traumatizing her further. "Get in the chopper," Jay said, "both of you." The ride back to the city was silent, but the tension was loud enough to shatter glass. Mia sat in the plush leather seat, looking out the window. She felt out of place, like a wild wolf trapped in a golden cage. Lily was asleep on her lap, holding Mia's uninjured hand with a grip so tight her knuckles were white. Jay watched them from the opposite seat. He was analyzing Mia. Her clothes were cheap, her boots were worn, but her posture was regal. And that move in the woods, that wasn't luck, that was training. "I'll ask you again," Jay said, his voice low so he wouldn't wake the child. "Who are you, and why does my daughter think you're her mother?" Mia didn't look at him. She gently stroked Lily's hair, pushing a loose strand behind the little girl's ear. "Kids imagine things when they're scared," she lied. She couldn't tell him the truth, that holding this child felt like holding the piece of her soul that died 5 years ago. "I'm just a nobody from the sticks. You can drop me off at the nearest bus station." Jay narrowed his eyes. "You saved her life. You stopped a knife with your hand. Nobodies do that." He leaned forward. "My daughter hasn't spoken in 2 years. Today, she called you Mommy. I don't believe in coincidences." Just then, Jay's phone buzzed. It was a message from his private investigator. "Background on the girl from the woods. Mia. No last name found yet. Lives off-grid. Clean record." Jay frowned. A ghost, just like the mother. He looked at Lily, sleeping so peacefully for the first time in months. He knew what he had to do. He needed a shield for his daughter, and he was looking at the strongest one he had ever seen. "I have a proposition for you," Jay said. Mia finally looked at him. "I don't want your money." "It's about her," Jay said. He pointed to Lily. "Someone is trying to kill her. Today was just the beginning. I can hire 100 bodyguards, but none of them can make her feel safe. You did that in 5 minutes. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "Marry me." Mia choked on air. "Excuse me?" Jay didn't blink. "A contract marriage. 1 year. You act as her mother. You protect her. In exchange, I give you $1 billion and the best resources in the world to do whatever you want. After 1 year, we divorce and you walk away." Mia stared at him. Was he crazy? $1 billion? But then she looked down at Lily. The little girl whined in her sleep and snuggled closer into Mia's warmth. A sharp pain shot through Mia's chest. Her own baby would have been this age. If she walked away now, would Lily survive the next attack? Could she live with herself if she left this child to the wolves? "I have conditions," Mia said quietly. Jay nodded. "Name them." "I don't do socialite parties, I don't wear heels, and if anyone hurts her," Mia's eyes turned cold steel, "I handle it my way." Jay smirked. "Deal." The Titan estate was less than a home and more like a museum. Everything was white, gold, and cold. As Mia stepped out of the car carrying a sleeping Lily, she saw a line of servants bowing, but her eyes were drawn to the woman standing at the top of the stairs, Ivy. She was wearing a red dress that looked like it was painted on, and her smile didn't reach her eyes. Ivy was Jay's childhood friend, the self-proclaimed future Mrs. Titan. She watched Mia get out of the car with a look of pure disgust. "Jay," cooed Ivy, ignoring Mia completely. "You're back? I was so worried about Lily." Jay walked past her. "Lily is fine. This is Mia, my wife." The silence that followed was deafening. Ivy's smile cracked like cheap porcelain. "Your what?" she sputtered. She looked at Mia, taking in the muddy boots and the oversized hoodie. "Jay, you can't be serious. You picked up a beggar from the roadside?" Mia shifted Lily to her other shoulder. She could smell the expensive perfume rolling off Ivy. It smelled like desperation. "Nice to meet you too," Mia said dryly. "And I prefer rural security consultant over beggar." Ivy laughed, a high-pitched, cruel sound. "Oh, she speaks! Jay, you can't be serious. Think of the company stock. Think of Grandma Rose. Bringing a wild thing like this into the house?" Ivy reached out to touch Lily, her nails long and sharp. "Here, let me take the poor child to the nanny. She must smell terrible after being held by—" Mia slapped Ivy's hand away. It wasn't hard, but it was fast. Ivy gasped. "Don't touch her," Mia said. "Your nails are too sharp. You might scratch her." Jay watched the interaction, hiding a smile. Ivy had walked all over everyone in this house for years. It was refreshing to see someone stand up to her. "Mia stays in the master suite," Jay announced. "Prepare the room." Ivy turned pale. The master suite? That was reserved for the mistress of the house. That was supposed to be her room. She glared at Mia with pure venom. "You won't last a week," she hissed as Jay walked away. "The city will eat you alive, farm girl." Mia leaned in close, her voice a whisper. "Honey, I hunt wolves for breakfast. You're just a chihuahua in heels." Later that night, Mia stood in the massive bathroom, staring at her reflection. She had washed off the mud, but the scars on her arms were still there, souvenirs from her training with the Veil. She touched her stomach, where the stretch marks from her pregnancy 5 years ago had faded but never disappeared. Why did fate bring her here? Why did Lily feel so familiar? She pulled out a small, old flip phone from her pocket and dialed a number. "It's Dr. M," she said. "I need you to send my medical kit to the Titan estate. Yes, the silver needles. I have a feeling I'm going to need them." The next morning, the mansion was buzzing. Apparently, Jay had organized a small family lunch to introduce his new wife. By small, he meant 30 people, including the board of directors and local elites. Mia was forced into a dress by a team of stylists Jay had hired. It was a simple, elegant blue gown, but she felt like she was wearing a straitjacket. She walked down the grand staircase, trying not to trip. At the bottom stood a man she hadn't seen in 5 years. Her blood ran cold. It was Frank, her father. Frank was holding a glass of champagne, laughing loudly at something Jay said. He looked older, grayer, but his eyes were still the same, greedy and cruel. He was here to close a textile deal with Titan Group. When he turned and saw Mia, he dropped his glass. It shattered on the marble floor. "You?" Frank sputtered. "What is she doing here?" Jay looked confused. "You know my wife, Frank?" Frank's face turned red. "Wife? This is your wife? Mr. Titan, you've been scammed. This is my disgrace of a daughter, Mia." The room went silent. Ivy, standing in the corner, looked delighted. She had clearly tipped Frank off. "Yes," Frank shouted, pointing a shaking finger at Mia. "I kicked her out 5 years ago because she's a loose woman. She got pregnant by some random thug, brought shame to my family. I told her the baby died to save our reputation, but she is rotten to the core." Mia stood frozen on the stairs. Every word was a knife reopening an old wound. The baby died. That's what he had told her. She remembered waking up in the hospital, empty and screaming.
Jay looked at Mia. He saw the pain in her eyes, raw and agonizing, but he also saw the defiance. "Is this true?" Jay asked, his voice neutral. Mia walked down the rest of the stairs. She didn't look at Jay. She looked straight at Frank. "Yes," she said, her voice ringing clear. "I had a child, and you told me she died. You threw me out like garbage." She stepped closer to Frank, who actually took a step back. "But you forgot one thing, Father. Garbage doesn't fight back. I do." Frank sneered. "Jay, you can't be associated with her. She's damaged goods." Jay set his drink down. The sound was soft, but it echoed like a gavel. He walked over to Mia and wrapped an arm around her waist. It was a protective, possessive gesture. "Frank," Jay said, his voice dropping to a temperature that could freeze nitrogen, "you are speaking to Mrs. Titan. You call her damaged goods? I call her the woman who saved my daughter's life. If you say one more disrespectful word to her, I will buy your company by noon and shut it down by dinner." Frank turned pale. He stammered, looking for an exit. Ivy's face fell. Her plan to humiliate Mia had just backfired spectacularly. The lunch continued, but the atmosphere was thick. Ivy wasn't done yet. She signaled a waiter. As the soup was being served, the waiter tripped right behind Mia. A bowl of hot red tomato bisque went flying towards Mia's expensive blue dress. It was a classic mean girl move, but Mia had reflexes honed in combat. She didn't just dodge, she grabbed the tablecloth and yanked it slightly. The waiter lost his balance completely, and the soup flew past Mia and landed squarely on Ivy's pristine white Chanel suit. Ivy screamed. It sounded like a banshee dying. "My dress, you clumsy idiot! You did that on purpose!" Mia looked innocent, picking up her fork. "I didn't touch him. Maybe your bad karma tripped him." Lily, sitting next to Mia, let out a small giggle. It was the first time Jay had heard her laugh in years. He looked at Mia with a mixture of awe and suspicion. She was playing 4D chess while everyone else was playing checkers. But the fun didn't last. Suddenly, a commotion broke out at the head of the table. Grandma Rose, the matriarch of the family, clutched her chest. Her face turned gray. "My heart," she gasped, collapsing onto the table. Chaos erupted. "Grandma!" Jay shouted, rushing to her side. "Call an ambulance! Get the doctor!" Ivy was fake crying in the corner. "Oh no, Grandma!" But her eyes were gleaming. She knew Grandma Rose hadn't updated her will yet. If she died now, Ivy's family would get a massive payout from an old trust fund. The family doctor, Dr. Smith, rushed in. He checked Grandma's pulse and shook his head. "It's a massive cardiac arrest. Her heart is too weak. I don't think she's going to make it to the hospital." The room filled with gasps. Jay looked devastated. He held his grandmother's hand, pleading with her to hold on. "No," he whispered, "not you too." Mia watched from the side. She saw the faint purple hue on Grandma's fingernails. It wasn't just a heart attack. It was a blockage in the meridian flow. She knew she could save her, but if she did, she would expose her secret identity. Mia didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, pushing past the weeping Ivy and the useless doctor. "Move," she commanded. Dr. Smith glared at her. "Mrs. Titan, please step back. This is a medical emergency, not a vegetable garden." Mia ignored him. She reached into her clutch and pulled out a leather roll. She unfurled it to reveal a set of gleaming silver needles. "I said, move." Jay looked up. "Mia, what are you doing?" "I can save her," Mia said, her eyes locking with Jay's. It was a crazy question. Trust a rural girl with silver needles over a trained doctor? But Jay remembered the knife in the woods. He remembered Lily's laughter. "Let her work," Jay ordered. Dr. Smith sputtered. "Mr. Titan, this is insanity. She'll kill her." Mia didn't listen. Her hands moved with blinding speed. She inserted a needle into Grandma Rose's chest, then another at the base of her neck. She flicked the ends, sending a vibration through the needles. For a moment, nothing happened. Ivy smirked through her fake tears. "She's dead. Mia killed her. Murderer!" But then Grandma Rose gasped. A huge, ragged breath filled the room. The color rushed back into her cheeks. She opened her eyes and looked around. "Why is everyone crying?" she asked weakly. "I'm just hungry." The room was dead silent. Dr. Smith's jaw was on the floor. "Impossible," he whispered. "That technique, the vibrating needle, that's the signature of the legendary Dr. M." Jay looked at his wife. She was calmly packing up her needles, her expression unreadable. "Dr. M?" Jay asked. "The mysterious doctor everyone has been looking for?" Mia shrugged. "I just know a few tricks from the village." But Jay knew better. He wasn't looking at a village girl. He was looking at a masterpiece wrapped in a mystery. Ivy stood in the corner, shaking with rage. Mia wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Ivy realized she had to play her final card. She had to destroy Mia completely. A week later, Jay took Mia to a charity auction. It was the event of the season. Ivy was there, of course, hanging off the arm of a foreign duke, trying to make Jay jealous. But Jay's eyes were only on Mia. She was wearing a black gown that made her look dangerous and beautiful. During the auction, a rare painting came up, The Mother's Love. It depicted a woman holding a child. Mia stared at it, entranced. It reminded her of the baby she lost. Jay noticed her gaze. He lifted his paddle. 10 million. The room gasped. Ivy, leading a chance to humiliate Mia, lifted her paddle. 11 million. She smirked at Mia. "Does the farm girl want art? Do you even know who the artist is?" Mia didn't respond. She just whispered to Jay, "Don't waste your money. It's a fake." Jay paused. "How do you know?" Mia pointed to the corner of the canvas. "The shading is wrong. The original uses a specific pigment from the 18th century.
Jay lowered his paddle. Ivy won the painting for $12 million. She strutted over, triumphant. "Jay, you cheaped out for your wife? How sad." She held up the painting. "This is a masterpiece." Mia smiled sweetly. "Actually, Ivy, it's a counterfeit. You just paid $12 million for a glorified poster." Just then, the auction curator rushed over, pale-faced. "Miss Ivy, I am so sorry. We just received word. The painting is a fake. We will have to refund— Oh, wait. Per auction rules, all sales are final." The crowd erupted in laughter. Ivy turned redder than the tomato soup from the other night. She glared at Mia with pure hatred. "You knew," she screamed. "You let me buy it." Mia took a sip of her juice. "I tried to warn you, but you never listen, do you?" Jay chuckled, wrapping an arm around Mia. "My wife has an eye for detail." Ivy stormed off, dialing a number on her burner phone. "Execute Plan B," she hissed. "I want everyone to know about her baby tonight." The next morning, the headlines were brutal. Titan's bride, the scandalous past. Someone had leaked Mia's medical records from 5 years ago. It showed she had given birth to an illegitimate child. The press was camped outside the estate. Frank gave an interview, sobbing fake tears about how his daughter was a moral failure. Inside the mansion, the tension was suffocating. Jay looked at the papers. He didn't care about her past, but the media storm was hurting the company stock. Ivy arrived, acting concerned. "Oh, Jay, this is terrible. The board is furious. They say a woman with such a shady past can't raise the Titan heir. They want you to annul the marriage." She looked at Mia. "For Jay's sake, you should leave. You're dragging him down." Mia stood firm. "I'm not going anywhere." Ivy smirked. "There is one way to clear this up. A DNA test." "What?" Jay asked. Ivy pulled out a document. "Rumors are flying that Mia's dead baby is actually alive and living in poverty somewhere. To prove she's fit to be Lily's mother, she needs to prove she has no secret ties. Let's do a DNA test on her to put the record straight." It was a nonsensical demand, but Ivy had a darker plan. She had falsified a test result that would show Mia had matched with a known criminal's child, framing her further. Mia looked at Ivy. "Fine," she said, "but let's make it interesting. Let's test me against everyone in this room, just to be thorough." Jay agreed, confused but trusting Mia. The doctor took swabs. Ivy was confident. She had paid off the lab tech to swap the results, but she forgot one thing. Mia was the shadow. She had already intercepted the lab tech that morning and ensured the real results would be delivered. The results arrived an hour later. The entire family was gathered in the living room. Frank was there, gloating. Ivy was checking her nails. Jay opened the envelope. He read the first page. His brow furrowed. He read it again.
His hands started to shake. This is impossible, he whispered. Ivy stepped forward. What does it say? That she's the mother of a thug's child? Jay looked up, his eyes filled with tears. He looked at Mia, then at Lily, who was playing on the floor. No, Jay said, his voice trembling. It says Mia is a 99.99% match to Lily. The room went dead silent. Frank dropped his cane. Ivy stopped breathing. Mia froze. What? She whispered. She snatched the paper from Jay. There it was, maternity probability, 99.99%. You? Mia turned to Frank. Her voice was a low growl. You told me she died? You told me I held a corpse? Frank started backing away. It was business. The broker said a wealthy man needed an heir. I didn't know it was Jay. I just needed the money to save the company. Jay roared. It was a sound of pure, primal rage. He lunged at Frank, grabbing him by the collar. You sold my daughter? You sold my wife's child? You let me think her mother abandoned her? Ivy tried to sneak out the back door, but Mia was faster. She grabbed Ivy by the hair and threw her back into the room. You knew, Mia said. You hired the kidnappers because you knew Lily was mine. You wanted to kill her to erase the proof. Ivy screamed. It was supposed to be easy. You were just a dirt-poor nobody. You weren't supposed to fight back. The police arrived 10 minutes later. Jay had made the call himself. Frank was dragged out in handcuffs, weeping about his reputation. Ivy was arrested for conspiracy to commit murder and kidnapping. As they took her away, she screamed, I should be Mrs. Titan. It's mine. The door slammed shut, leaving the house quiet. Jay stood in the middle of the room, looking at Mia. The contract, the money, the fake marriage, it all dissolved. Mia fell to her knees in front of Lily. Baby, she sobbed, my baby. Lily looked at her, confused but happy. She wiped Mia's tears with her small hands. Mommy, don't cry, Lily said clearly. I knew it was you. Jay knelt beside them. He wrapped his arms around both of them. I'm sorry, he whispered into Mia's hair. I'm so sorry I didn't find you sooner. Mia looked at him. The warrior was gone. The shadow was gone. There was only a mother who had found her heart. You found us now, she said. The wedding preparations were supposed to be simple, but nothing in the Titan world stays simple long. Jay wanted to give Mia the ceremony she never had, a grand affair in the private gardens. Mia stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the veil that cascaded down her back like a waterfall of diamonds. Lily was jumping on the bed in a matching flower girl dress, looking like a little angel. Mommy is a princess, Lily giggled. Mia smiled, her heart full. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. She felt loved. But as the old saying goes, the calmest seas hide the darkest monsters. Downstairs, the guests were arriving. Suddenly, the heavy oak doors of the mansion burst open. A hush fell on the crowd. Standing there was a woman who looked like an older, terrifying version of Jay. She wore black to a wedding, carried a cane topped with a golden cobra, and a gaze that could peel paint off the walls. It was Catherine, Jay's estranged mother who had been living in Europe for 20 years, and she wasn't alone. Linking arms with her was a stunning, icy blonde woman in a white suit. Stop the music, Catherine commanded. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of a judge passing a death sentence. Jay stepped forward, shielding Mia, who had just appeared at the top of the stairs. Mother, Jay said, his jaw tightening, you didn't RSVP. Catherine didn't even look at him. Her eyes locked onto Mia. She scanned her up and down with a look of pure repulsion. So, this is the rural girl I read about in the tabloids, the one with the illegitimate child and the criminal father? Mia straightened her spine. I'm the woman who saved your granddaughter, Mia said calmly, and my name is Mia. Catherine laughed, a cold, dry sound. Saving a child is a nanny's job, not a wife's. Jay, I have brought you a proper wife. She pulled the blonde woman forward. This is Sophia. She is the daughter of the Duke of Monterose. She has breeding, class, and a clean record. She is the only one fit to be Mrs. Titan. Sophia smiled, a practiced plastic smile. Hello, Jay. Your mother has told me so much about you. Jay didn't return the smile. I'm already married, Mother. Mia is my wife. If you can't respect that, you can leave. Catherine's eyes narrowed. Married to this trash? We'll see about that. I'm moving in. Living with Catherine was like living in a war zone where the bombs were passive-aggressive comments. She took over the East Wing and treated the house staff like slaves. Sophia was always there, hovering around Jay, bringing him coffee, touching his arm, laughing too loudly at his jokes. Mia watched it all with a detached amusement. She knew Jay wasn't interested, but Sophia's persistence was annoying. One morning, Mia came down to breakfast to find her herbal tea replaced with black coffee. "Mother says herbal tea is for peasants," Sophia chirped, sitting in Mia's chair. "We drink Kona blend here." Mia didn't argue. She walked over, picked up the coffee cup, and poured it slowly into the flower pot in the center of the table. "I prefer my peasant water," Mia said, staring Sophia down. "And you're in my seat." Sophia gasped, looking to Catherine for backup. Catherine slammed her hand on the table. "Insolent girl! You have no manners. Sophia is a guest." Mia leaned in, her voice dropping to that dangerous whisper she used on thugs. "Guests know when to leave. Parasites stay." Catherine stood up, trembling with rage. "You think you've won because you gave him a daughter? Children can be taken away, Mia. Accidents happen." The threat hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Mia's eyes darkened. "If you threaten my daughter again," Mia said, "you won't have to worry about an accident. You'll have to worry about me." Jay walked in at that moment, sensing the tension. "What is going on here?" Sophia immediately burst into fake tears. "Oh, Jay, Mia threatened your mother. She said she would hurt her." Jay looked at Mia. He didn't ask if it was true. He knew Mia. She didn't make threats. She made promises. "Mother," Jay said wearily, "stop provoking my wife." Catherine scoffed. "Your wife is a wild animal. She needs to be put down." She turned to Sophia. "Plan B, my dear." Mia caught the look between them. Plan B. She pulled out her old flip phone under the table and texted her contact at the Vale. "Need background on Sophia Monterose. Something smells like rotten fish." 2 days later, Lily fell ill. She was vomiting, pale, and burning up with a fever. Mia was frantic. She checked her food, her water, everything. Nothing seemed off. Dr. Smith was called, but he was baffled. "It looks like food poisoning, but I can't find the source." Catherine stood in the doorway, shaking her head. "It's probably those dirty herbs Mia grows in the garden. I told you, rural habits bring disease." Mia ignored her. She took a drop of Lily's saliva and placed it on a silver needle. The needle turned black. Poison, not food poisoning, actual poison. Mia's blood ran cold. She stormed into the kitchen, her eyes scanning everything. She found it in the sugar bowl, a faint, sweet scent of nightshade dust, a slow-acting toxin used in the underworld. She knew exactly who put it there.
She marched into the living room where Sophia was sipping tea. Mia didn't say a word. She grabbed Sophia by the hair and slammed her face onto the coffee table. "What did you give her?" Mia screamed. "Tell me the antidote." Sophia screamed, "Crazy! She's crazy! Help!" Catherine rushed in, swinging her cane at Mia. Mia caught the cane with one hand and snapped it in half. "Your guest poisoned Lily," Mia snarled. "If my daughter doesn't recover in 5 minutes, Sophia stops breathing." Sophia, terrified by the demon in Mia's eyes, cracked. It's just a mild dose, to make her sick so I could nurse her back to health. I didn't mean to kill her. The antidote is in my purse." Mia grabbed the antidote, rushed upstairs, and administered it to Lily. Within minutes, the color returned to Lily's cheeks. Jay arrived home to find Sophia bruised and crying, and his mother screaming about calling the police on Mia. But when Jay saw the black needle and the antidote bottle, his face went stone cold. He turned to Sophia. "You poisoned my child?" Sophia sobbed. "Catherine told me to. She said if Mia looked like a bad mother, you would leave her." Catherine went pale. "You lying little—" Jay pointed to the door. "Get out, both of you, now." Catherine refused to leave. She claimed squatters' rights, she claimed illness, she claimed everything, but the dynamic had shifted. She was scared of Mia now. But Catherine wasn't done. She made a phone call to an old contact, a mercenary group known as the Black Lotus. "I want her gone," Catherine whispered into the phone. "Tonight, make it look like a robbery." That night, a storm raged outside. Thunder shook the windows of the Titan estate. Mia couldn't sleep. Her instincts were screaming. She got out of bed, put on her black tactical gear, and walked silently down the hallway. She found them in the library, 4 men dressed in black, dismantling the security system. They were pros, the Black Lotus. Mia sighed. "Can't a girl get 1 night of sleep?" she asked from the shadows. The leader turned, a knife in hand. "Scream and you die, lady." Mia stepped into the light. The lightning flashed, illuminating her face. The leader froze. He squinted, then his eyes went wide with terror. He dropped his knife. "Shadow?" he whispered. The other men looked confused. "Boss, what are you doing? It's just a girl." The leader slapped the man next to him. "Idiot, that's not a girl. That's the Shadow, the ghost of the veil. We are dead. We are so dead." Mia crossed her arms. "You're trespassing, Marco." The leader, Marco, fell to his knees. "I didn't know it was your house, Shadow. I swear. The old lady hired us. She said it was a soft target." Mia stepped closer. "The old lady?" Marco nodded vigorously. "Catherine, she paid us triple to take you out." Mia sighed. "Leave and tell Catherine that her refund policy involves a broken leg." Marco and his men scrambled out the window faster than they came in. Mia looked upstairs. It was time to end this. Mia walked into Catherine's room. The old woman was waiting, sipping brandy, expecting to hear screams. Instead, she saw Mia, unharmed, holding the contract Catherine had signed with the assassins. Catherine dropped her glass. "How?" Mia threw the contract on the bed. "Your hitmen quit. Apparently, they value their lives more than your money." Mia sat on the edge of the bed. "You hate me because I'm poor, because I'm from the country, but you don't realize that the only reason you're still breathing is because I respect Jay." Catherine trembled. "Who are you?" she whispered. "You're not an herbalist." Mia leaned in. "I'm the person who keeps the nightmares away." "Now we have 2 choices. Choice A, I show this contract to the police and you spend your golden years in prison for attempted murder. Choice B, you pack your bags, move back to Europe, and send a postcard once a year." Catherine looked at the contract, then at Mia's cold eyes. She knew she had lost. "I'll leave in the morning," she rasped. But fate has a wicked sense of humor. Before Catherine could leave, she collapsed. She grabbed her chest, her face turning purple. It wasn't a fake heart attack this time. It was real. Jay rushed in, awakened by the noise. "Mother," he cried. He looked at Mia. "Help her, please." Mia hesitated. This woman had tried to kill her. She had poisoned Lily. She deserved to rot. But Mia looked at Jay's face, the pain of a son losing his mother, no matter how wicked she was. Mia sighed. "Get my needles." For the second time, Dr. M went to work. The surgery was brutal. Catherine's heart valves were failing. Mia worked for 3 hours straight, sweat dripping down her forehead. Jay held the flashlight, watching his wife perform miracles. When it was over, Catherine was stable. She opened her eyes weakly. She saw Mia wiping blood off her hands. "Why?" Catherine whispered. "I tried to kill you." Mia packed her kit. "Because my husband loves you, and I love him. Don't make me regret it." Catherine left a week later. She didn't apologize, women like her never do, but she left her golden cobra cane as a gift for Lily. It was a truce. The house was finally quiet. Jay and Mia sat on the balcony, watching Lily play in the garden with the golden cane. "You know," Jay said, pulling Mia onto his lap, "my mother called from the airport. She said you're terrifying." Mia smiled. "I'll take that as a compliment." "He also said," Jay continued, kissing Mia's neck, "that I should never let you go. For once, I agree with her." Mia laughed, but her phone buzzed. It was a message from the Veil. Status, retired. Enjoy your life, Shadow. Mia turned the phone off. She threw it into the flower bushes below. "What was that?" Jay asked. "Just spam." "So, about that honeymoon we never had." Jay smirked. "I was thinking somewhere quiet. No hitmen, no poison, no evil mothers." Mia rested her head on his shoulder. "Sounds boring, but I think I can handle boring for a while." Down in the garden, Lily looked up and waved. The sun was setting over the Titan estate, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. The storms had passed, the enemies were vanquished, the rural girl had not only won the CEO's heart, she had conquered his world. Jay stood up and picked Mia up bridal style. "Mrs. Titan," he whispered, "let's go inside. I have a billion reasons to show you how much I love you." Mia laughed, a sound that was free and light. "Just a billion? You better try harder than that." The balcony doors closed.
leaving the garden peaceful, guarded by the silent strength of a family that had fought through hell to find their heaven.